I've heard so many opinions over the years about what's healthy and what's not, and maybe you've experienced this too. One day, everyone's raving about a certain food's magical benefits. The next day, we're told that same food is loaded with hidden sugars and sneaky fats. It can be so confusing. When I was a kid, I often heard that fruit juice was the perfect start to my day, packed with vitamins and all that. Turns out, many of these so-called healthy options can quietly pack on the pounds instead of melting them away. This contradiction has left countless people scratching their heads. How can something promoted as good for you end up sabotaging your weight goals? It's a frustrating puzzle, right? Well, guys, let's unravel it right now. In fact, stick around because today we're talking about 10 foods that might not be as slimming as they claim to be. Don't go anywhere.
Because by the end, you might be rethinking your entire grocery list.
By the way, if you find yourself nodding along and thinking, oh my gosh, this is so me, then definitely check it out and consider subscribing to this channel. We talk about all sorts of nutrition tips and tricks, plus a whole bunch of myth busting that can make a real difference in your lifestyle. I promise, this is going to be really interesting. So, let's consider a prime example of where confusion often begins. Fruit juice. You've probably heard the classic story. Drink your orange juice in the morning, it's full of vitamin C. And that's true, there is vitamin C in there. But what many people overlook is the concentrated sugar that comes from squeezing so many fruits into a small glass. Without the fiber of the whole fruit, your body processes that sugar fast, sending your insulin levels on a mini roller coaster ride. This can lead to a burst of energy followed by a mid-morning crash, not to mention a potential spike in calorie intake if you're not careful. I really like it when people make their own freshly squeezed juice at home and keep it moderate. But even then, it's easy to overdo. Sometimes it's better to just eat the whole fruit and get that natural fiber. Now, moving on to something we often see in health food aisles, granola and granola bars. They are marketed as heart healthy, full of oats, nuts, and seeds. Sounds amazing, right? Except those clusters can hide a lot of sugar and extra oils. When I was in college, I used to grab a granola bar between classes because it felt like a healthy, convenient snack. But then I discovered each bar could have as much sugar as a candy bar plus some questionable additives. It's wild how misleading the labels can be. Sure, there are healthier versions out there, especially the ones you make at home with less sugar or honey, but the store-bought versions can be a dessert in disguise. If you love that sweet, crunchy flavor, you can experiment with baking your own. It's a lot of fun to control exactly what goes in, though I'll admit it's easy to get hooked on the aroma of toasted oats. Before we get too deep into the rest of these sneaky foods, I want to talk about something I'm personally very passionate about: garlic. I absolutely love adding garlic to my meals. There's a reason so many cuisines around the world use it. Besides that incredible aroma, garlic is known for a variety of health perks. Traditional wisdom suggests it may help with heart health, immunity, and adding big flavor without needing too much salt. I'm sure you've seen garlic used in everything from pasta sauce to soups to stir-fries, and sometimes even in health supplements. So, what's the catch? Well, fresh garlic on its own is generally fantastic, provided you don't have a sensitivity to it. The issue is that garlic often arrives at our table cloaked in other high-calorie disguises. Garlic bread is a classic example. You take that perfectly wholesome clove, mix in a heap of butter or oil, spread it on a refined flour baguette, and voila, you've created a calorie bomb. Or maybe you pick up a jar of garlic sauce, thinking it's basically crushed garlic, only to find it's loaded with added sugar, cornstarch, or unhealthy fats. Talk about a betrayal. I've been guilty of grabbing a convenient garlic spread at the supermarket without checking the label, only to realize later that the ingredient list was suspiciously long. If you want to keep using garlic as a healthy flavor boost, fresh is best. Mince or crush it yourself and saute with a light drizzle of olive oil if you must. Or roast a whole head of garlic in the oven with herbs for a lower-calorie, super flavorful spread. By using it in its simplest form, you get all those health benefits without the sneaky extras. Speaking of sneaky extras, I can't overlook salad. Dressings as another potential pitfall. You've probably heard that a salad is the best way to lose weight, but have you checked what's inside your favorite dressing? Some are absolutely packed with sugar, processed oils, and even high fructose corn syrup to punch up the taste. The irony is that you might be loading a big bowl of leafy greens with so many extra calories that you could have just eaten a burger. I remember a time when I was so proud of myself for choosing a salad with low-fat dressing. Later, I found out it was bursting with sugar to compensate for the lower fat content. It's a good rule of thumb to go for simpler dressings, like a basic vinaigrette made with olive oil and vinegar, or even just lemon juice with a sprinkle of herbs. That way, you have a better handle on the calories. Next up, let's consider protein bars. They've become wildly popular. especially in the fitness world. People assume that extra protein means automatically healthy. However, many of these bars are more like candy bars with a protein supplement thrown in. Some brands literally coat their bars in chocolate or caramel and ramp up the sugar content. Now guys, I'm not saying all protein bars are evil. There are brands out there that keep things clean. But it's vital to read the nutrition label and ingredients. Whenever you see a bar that's pushing 30 or 40 grams of sugar, it's probably doing more harm than good. If you must rely on these as a quick snack, look for bars sweetened with real fruit or minimal sweeteners, and aim for higher fiber to keep you feeling satisfied. So, let's consider the world of smoothies. I really like it when a smoothie is made from real, whole ingredients, like spinach, kale, fresh fruit, and maybe some yogurt. The trouble comes when you go to a smoothie chain that douses everything with fruit syrups, sweetened yogurts, and extra honey or agave. Suddenly, a drink you believed was full of vitamins might have 500 to 700 calories, not to mention the sugar high that comes with it. Sometimes the health halo around smoothies makes us forget to question what's in them. By the way, if you're making a smoothie at home, definitely toss in some veggies and keep the fruit portion modest. It's a fantastic way to pack in nutrients without losing track of your calorie count. And how about dried fruit? It seems like a perfect snack. Concentrated fruit that's easy to carry around, right? But here's the thing. Many dried fruits are sweetened with added sugar to enhance flavor or preserve color. Plus, you lose most of the water content, so you can easily scarf down hundreds of calories worth of fruit without feeling that full. When I was younger, I loved those sugary dried mangoes, thinking, hey, it's fruit, it has to be healthy. Except, by the time I was done snacking, I'd had the sugar of multiple whole mangoes. If you do enjoy dried fruit, try to pick unsweetened varieties and watch your portion sizes carefully. Now, moving on to another drink that can trick us, sports drinks. We see those commercials with athletes guzzling bright-colored liquids as if it's the ultimate hydration solution. And for professional athletes or marathon runners, maybe it is useful to replace electrolytes. But for everyday folks just doing a light workout or going about daily life, sports drinks can dump a surprising amount of sugar and sodium into your system. It's one of those products that's very specifically designed for intense physical activity, yet it's marketed to the masses. I absolutely love that refreshing feeling after a tough workout, but if I'm only doing a quick moderate session at the gym, plain water or water infused with lemon does the job just fine. While we're talking about things that come in bags or boxes, veggie chips are another culprit. They're often marketed as a healthier alternative to traditional potato chips, but let's look under the hood. Many veggie chips are still fried or baked with a lot of oil and sprinkled with salt. The vegetable content might be minimal or heavily processed. Essentially, you could be getting a similar nutrient profile to a standard potato chip, just with some beets or spinach powder thrown in for color. Now, I'm not saying you should never treat yourself to a snack. I really like it when I find a genuinely baked kale chip or a dehydrated carrot chip that has only a few ingredients. But always glance at that ingredients list before trusting the label that screams veggie in big, bold letters. Speaking of labels, whole wheat bread is another one that needs a closer look. Yes, whole wheat is better than white flour in most cases, more fiber, more nutrients. But the problem is that many commercial whole wheat or multi-grain breads contain refined flour as well, plus extra sweeteners like high fructose, corn syrup, molasses, or honey to make it more palatable. If the first ingredient on the label is enriched wheat flour, that's basically white flour. Whole grains should be front and center. Also, keep in mind the overall calorie count. Sometimes we think we're doing our waistline a favor by choosing a healthy-sounding bread, but if it's dense and each slice is huge, that can still add up quickly, especially if you're piling on spreads and cheese. Trust me, I've been there, layering on peanut butter because I thought, it's protein, right? Meanwhile, my sandwich became a calorie colossus. Which brings us back, in a way, to the question we posed earlier. How do we navigate all these foods that seem healthy on the surface, but aren't necessarily the best choice for weight management? The short answer is to be mindful of labels, ingredients, and portion sizes. The slightly longer answer? Experiment with making your own alternatives or seek out brands that value transparency. It might take a bit of trial and error, but you'll start to see patterns, certain keywords, or marketing buzz phrases that signal, hey, this might not be as healthy as you think. By the way, if this conversation is resonating with you, I encourage you to drop a comment about any healthy food you've discovered wasn't so healthy after all, and feel free to share your own tips for healthier substitutes. We're all here to learn from each other. So let's recap, guys. We took a closer look at some of those foods that are often advertised with fit-sounding labels. Fruit juice, granola, smoothies, dried fruit, sports drinks, protein bars, salad, dressings, veggie chips, whole wheat bread, And yes, garlic in the form of garlic bread or heavily processed sauces. While each of these foods can have a place in your diet, especially if you choose your products carefully, they can also be sneaky sources of extra calories. And let's not forget, fresh garlic itself is usually a big plus. It's just when it's paired with unhealthy ingredients that we run into trouble. The main takeaway is that no single food will make or break your health, but it's easy to fall into a trap if we rely too much on marketing claims instead of actual nutritional facts. I know it might sound overwhelming to scrutinize every label or wonder about each ingredient, but trust me, once you get the hang of it, it becomes second nature. When you start paying attention, you'll notice how many foods rely on added sugar, refined flour, and excess fats to make them taste healthy. And if you're serious about reaching or maintaining a healthy weight, cutting back on those hidden calorie bombs can make a huge difference. You don't have to ban these items from your life forever. Just be aware of how often you indulge and consider opting for more wholesome alternatives. If you love garlic, for instance, roast your own fresh cloves and spread them on whole grain bread. If you adore fruit juice, maybe do half juice, half water. Small changes like these can go a long way. Before we wrap this up, remember that staying well-informed is the best defense against misleading labels and marketing hype, and that's where we come in. If you'd like more breakdowns of what's really in your food, or tips on how to spice up your meals with healthier, more transparent ingredients, go ahead and subscribe or follow this channel. Feel free to hit that like button if you found this helpful. I'm planning lots more content aimed at making healthy eating simpler and more fun for everyone. So here's my final thought. Real health is all about balance, and most importantly, it's about knowledge. Once you realize that not every healthy food is automatically good for weight management, you empower yourself to make wiser choices. The next time you pick up a product that claims to be light, low-fat, or made with whole grains, ask yourself, what does that actually mean? Give that ingredient list a quick glance. You might be surprised by what you learn. At the end of the day, it's okay to indulge in your favorites now and then. Just keep an eye on how often those indulgences slip into your routine. Let me know in the comments which of these foods shocked you the most, or maybe you already knew about them but have your own clever swaps to share. By sharing experiences, we all get a little smarter about what we're putting into our bodies. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I appreciate each and every one of you who sticks around to chat about real nutrition. Until next time, take care and keep exploring those labels carefully. After all, what's truly healthy might just be hiding right under our noses, garlic cloves and all. Which of these healthy foods do you think is the biggest culprit? I'd love to hear your opinions.